Well, good morning to all of you for coming to this meeting today, our first meeting of the new year of 2025. Have planned, I think, a interesting meeting for you with Steph Herbert, and her title is Leading with the Heart, and she's going to talk to us about HeartMath. And I just want to gather us all together with a poem that has nothing to do with HeartMath, but it does have something to do with the heart. And I thought it might be an interesting start to the to this meeting this January 2025. And this was it tells about the feelings of the heart. So the heart has many attributes. And this one talks about hearts connecting. And it was written by A. Lynn Wagner in 2020. And she is a educator. She's a nurse. She's a nursing speaker, uh, quite well known. And she also has authored a book, and she is a poet. And I love her poems. She gave us a presentation on poetry one time in the past, and I kept one of her poems. So this is the poem, Hearts Connecting, that she wrote when she was having difficulty choosing what to do next with her life, with her career. I think she had a loss in her life. So she was kind of at that threshold of not knowing what the future will bring. And she wrote this: Heart of stone of the earth, it's cold, hard, old. You know a history shaped by hot flow, compression, and attrition, trampled by many feet, just a stone, but you caught my eye, sparkled in the sun. It's in the shape of love, warmed in my hand, a gift of the spirit earth. And then there's the heart cloud of the sky, flowering, ephemeral. You appeared on a hot afternoon, moisture formed in loving shape, impermanent, backlit, untouchable. The wind then molds you to a new form, a tiger floating above the birds, a gift of the spirit sky. Heart of my humanity now, heart of my humanity, central to my being. You beat to my life's rhythm, softer than earthstone, more permanent than the sky's cloud. You reflect my moods of love embraced. You connect me to my love song, a gift to my spirit soul. And she said that she wrote this because she's kept on seeing heart shapes in the sky, and she kept on finding these heart-shaped rocks as she walked. And what she deduced from that was that the universe and her intuition and her inner spirit was telling her to choose her next steps in her life and to lead with her heart. So I thought it did kind of go along with what Stephanie is talking about, and that was Stephanie's choice of topic title. So I thought it just reminded me of Lynn Wagner's poem, which I thought was just beautiful. And what was funny was that my daughter was also at loose ends, and she kept on finding these heart stones as well. And she met Ralph, who she later married, which I thought was it just all connected at how connected we all are. So I'd like to introduce to you Steph Herbert, and she is a senior director of Inova Well at the Inova Health System based in Fairfax, Virginia. She has her Bachelor of Arts degree from George Mason in psychology. And believe it or not, you'd look at her, you wouldn't think, but she has over 20 years of health and wellness experience to support her journey toward holistic well-being. She combines her experience in health and wellness coaching, training in biofield energy healing, and certification as a HeartMath trainer. She's dedicated to empowering individuals to achieve vibrant health, profound healing, and personal growth. So she has multiple certifications in integrative nutrition and wellness coach, the HeartMath trainer. She's yoga teacher, a wellness practitioner, a Reiki master. And I met her first when she was taking a healing touch course. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Steph Herbert in her capable hands.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you, Carol, for that beautiful, beautiful poem and writing. It does fit nicely with the theme of today. And I'm so grateful that I get to be the first person to be with you this year in 2025. So hopefully, as you progress through your new year, my hope for you is with the information that we're going to go over today, that you, just like the poem said, you choose heart and you live with heart and you lead with heart. And what I've learned in my journey is that sometimes it takes some time to reconnect with the heart. And there's no better thing than giving the heart and your brain the power of purposeful breath. So that's what we're going to be going over today is HeartMath and some of the breathing techniques and truly how to use them for your own personal resilience, but also for better connection with your heart and brain. So before we actually begin, I'm going to do a heart lock-in technique with you all. I really like to start with this breathing technique because especially when you're in the flesh with people, you can feel the energetic change that happens when people settle their minds and their hearts. So what I'm just going to ask you all to do is just get comfortable wherever you are. And close your eyes and place your hands on the center of your chest. And I'll just invite you to focus on the center of your chest, where your heart is. And all you have to do is just breathe slower and deeper than you normally would. Just take a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths, get yourself settled. And then using the brain, activate and sustain a positive emotion. So you can use your brain to bring in a thought of where you felt appreciation or compassion or care, and just anchor that emotion within the body. And once the emotion is anchored, I'll just invite you all to imagine that positive emotion radiating outward from your heart into our environment together. Beautiful. When you're ready, you can softly and gently allow your hands to drop back to your lap or wherever you feel comfortable, and you can open up your eyes. So I appreciate that because I already feel a lot more settled. So thank you all very much for joining in that heart lock-in technique. So a little bit about HeartMath. They're an institute that's based out in California, and they have been studying the communication between the heart and the brain for, I think probably now it's been over 30 years. They have a lot of articles that they've published. So if there's anybody that is interested in more of the science behind what they've been doing, definitely check out that information. You can find more information on their website as well, which is the HeartMath Institute. You know, they have been using these certain breathing techniques, and they've been supporting hospital systems. They've been supporting police forces. they actually, within the last, I would say 10 years, they've been focusing a lot on schools. So they're teaching children how to use these specific heart breathing methods so that there's less test anxiety, there's less anxiety around, all of the unfortunate drills that the schools have to go through now with violence. And they're really anchoring themselves in using these types of techniques to create personal resilience and personal connection. So the science behind HeartMath, though, is that understanding that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. But the studies that they have completed show that achieving heart coherence, which again we'll discuss in more detail, reduces cortisol and increases DHA. So from the scientific aspect, this is an evidence-based, or they are evidence-based tools that help support our own personal resilience. Now, what I found along my journey I was 17 years in primary care. And just to give you a little snapshot of my life back then, in my early 20s, late 20s, mid 30s. And I think I was in the point in my career where I truly wore my stress as a badge. And I didn't have the self-awareness, and I also didn't have the tools to understand when I was stressed out what I needed to do to decompress. So unfortunately, at that time, at the end of my primary care career, I truly did burn out, and I burned out bad. And, we each have probably because of being in the medical field, we each have our own burnout story. But for me specifically, I was really used to being the person that could put out all of the fires, whether it was for my family, for my teammates, for the physicians that I was working for. But in this particular case, it was just almost like the light went out, and one day I was just like, this is just too much. I didn't have the answers. I'm not typically a person that cries, and I started crying because it felt too overwhelming. And I was like, what is happening here? Now, unfortunately, back in those days, people weren't talking about personal resilience or self-care. It was just a go, go, go environment. So I had to find my own ways of coping and kind of getting out of that burnout. And a lot of people were telling me to try and quiet my brain, use meditation as a tool. And I don't know how you guys feel about meditation, but early on in my journey, when somebody just said, do meditation, I couldn't do it. And so it was another thing that I felt that I was failing at. And that's when I found HeartMath. And I think the one thing I wanted to share with HeartMath is that for me, it's become my lifelong practice. It's not just a tool that I use when I'm stressed out or when I need to reset or refocus. It truly has become weaved in everything that I do. So throughout the day, and this took years. This isn't an overnight thing. So what I would hope, again, with sharing these tools with you all, is that you look at this as a lifelong and possibly a new connection between your heart, your breath, and your brain. So how it works, we always start with heart-focused breathing, which we will practice in a little bit, but I want you to just remember that, because there's different techniques within HeartMath, but you'll always start with heart-focused breathing. And the reason, the science behind that, is that when you directly focus your attention on the center of your heart, or the center of your chest, and you breathe a little bit slower and deeper, you're able to change the conversation between the brain and the heart. The coherence techniques that happens once you practice these types of breathing modalities is that over time, you increase the synchronization between the heart rhythms and the brain waves. And then if you need to, you can use biofeedback tools to actually give you real-time biofeedback. HeartMath does have a biofeedback tool that anybody can purchase. It's on the website. Obviously, I'm not going to be showing that to you today, but it's just an ear clip where you can use, and I did start with that. You can use your breathing to check out your heart rate variability to see over time how these types of breathing modalities truly change the brain and heart conversation. So our objectives today is I'm going to be teaching you a few tools that will hopefully increase your personal resilience, your energy levels. What I have found is that these breathing techniques will give you incredible clarity when you're under pressure. And they help you truly when you activate these types of breathing techniques as a lifestyle. They help you become more self-aware and also have better situational awareness. And they help you reset. So what is resilience? So resilience from HeartMath is the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress. And what we have learned is that you can increase your capacity for your resilience. You just have to have the self-awareness of understanding if you are in a more energetically or emotionally depleted state. So what I really like to show with this visual is that, you know, you can think of your resilience as the amount of energy that you have stored in your own personal battery. So it's the amount of energy that you have available each day. And, you know, when you're in a situation or event that depletes you from your energy, whether it's frustration or anger or confusion, what ends up happening to the body's internal battery is that our battery tends to go into the low and recharge state. So that's one thing that I'll invite you guys to think about when you're on this journey is having that conversation in your head. How is my personal battery right now? Whether it's, you know, after dealing with a situation or even when you're waking up, having that self-awareness of asking yourself how you're feeling. And then remembering that just like a battery, we need to recharge. And so we need the skills to recharge when we are in that depleted state. You know, a lot of times, and I don't know if you guys are guilty of this, but I'm so good at charging my cell phone. I'm good at making sure I have a secret battery drawer for the remote control. I mean, everything around me, I have a backup plan to recharge. But most people don't have the backup plan to recharge themselves. So that's where I'll hopefully push you into thinking about that more. And then remembering that we are energy systems and we expend and renew energy all day long. Every day we wake up with a certain amount of energy to spend. And, you know, we know the importance of sleep. And if sleep is still a hindrance to you, then I will say in your journey of your own personal resilience, I would ensure that sleep becomes a non-negotiable because that truly is the only time where our body has the ability to recharge. But as we remember that we are energy systems that expend and renew throughout the day, you know, making sure that we take cues with whether we're hungry, whether we need a nap, and then adding in these breathing breaks to make sure that you renew yourself. Now, we all have these domains of resilience, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. But what the science has found is that most people spend the majority of their days in the emotional state of resilience because of life. Life is going on and we have reactions to certain things. So, you know, the importance again is understanding when we're kind of going through these different domains of resilience, when we are in that emotional state, we want to be aware of our triggers. We want to be aware of the emotional feelings that we have throughout the body, whether that showcases itself in high blood pressure or a feeling of anxiousness, having that self-awareness of what's happening within your domain of emotional state. So depleting and renewing emotions. I know you all will probably know this already, but when you are in a more overloaded state of mind, I think what I've learned is a lot of people forget that depleting emotions and positive emotions actually have names. So that's why I like to show these slides. So what the depleting emotions that our bodies typically react from are fear, frustration, impatience, anger. And, you know, we already know that they have a toxic reaction to our body. They release stress hormones through the body, and over time, and not to be a Debbie Downer with this slide, but over time, if you stay in that more depleted state, the things that will happen is reduced muscle mass, accelerated aging, impaired memory, impaired mental function, and diminished performance. Versus when you're in more of those renewing emotional states that truly, and I truly mean this to the bottom of my heart, it takes time to stay in that renewed, energetic state, to be cognizant of the emotions that renew us. So those emotions are care, courage, tolerance, appreciation, and they're the good things. They're the good emotions that truly keep our body in a good, positive, coherent state. And they help us with our longevity. They help us with our adversity, improved memory. I'll share a little story, and I know Carol and Patty know this, but my 102-year-old grandmother is staying with me because she's just experienced a fall 2 weeks ago. And I think the greatest thing that I have learned from my grandmother, who went through World War II in England, she's English, she had a buzz bomb, drop in her backyard that created a crater the size of a London bus, and her brothers and sisters and parents, they were all safe miraculously, hiding under the stairs. And the one thing that she has said to me over and over and over in this life is to always be grateful and to always look for the positives in very, very dark times. And so with that mindset, even as my grandmother has been suffering in pain, which is something that I know you all probably have dealt with your family members, it hurts, right? And it hurts right here because you want to fix and you want to do something to help. But because of my self-awareness with using the HeartMath tools, and because of the wonderful lessons that my grandmother has instilled, I'm able to go to my heart to then reset my brain in those moments of like frustration and not knowing what to do next, and then anchoring and saying like, but at least I'm so grateful that I get to have her here at my house. I'm so grateful that, you know, I still have my 102-year-old Nan. So that hopefully will offer some insight of when you are really in that depleted state, where to go and how to use those renewing emotions. So we're going to do our first breathing technique, which is the heart focused breathing. The heart focused breathing technique, as I shared earlier, is the place that you will go first before you incorporate any other type of HeartMath breathing technique. So if you walk away with nothing from this presentation today, which I hope is not the case, but this is what I would want you to remember. This is the technique that you'll use for your own self-regulation, and it's the tool that truly helps you shift to a more coherent state where you're alert and calm at the same time. So I'll invite you all again to get comfortable wherever you are. And because this is a new technique, I will be asking everybody to close their eyes and continuing to place the hands on the center of the chest. As you become more familiar with these techniques, you don't have to do that. You'll be able to do it whenever you need to, but today, since we're learning, that's why I'll ask you for those physical cues. So as we get more centered in this space again, and remembering that we actually, as humans, don't spend a lot of time with our hands on the center of our chest on top of our heart space, I'll just invite you in this moment to feel your chest rising and falling. This is a really good cue of feeling that physical rise and fall of the chest, that our body, thankfully, is always working for us. We're always taking in the oxygen that's keeping us going. But now that you've settled into that more mechanical space of the chest rising and falling, I'll just invite you to focus your attention in the area of your heart. And just imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or your chest area. So you're using the brain, and you're telling the brain, I'd like you to visualize that the air is going in and out of the heart space. And then you're breathing a little slower and deeper than you usually would. You find your own pace for that breath in and breath out. But again, keep activating the brain of ensuring that the visual of the oxygen going into the heart and out to the heart. And then softly and gently bringing the hands back down to the lap, wiggling the fingers and opening up the eyes. So I'd love to see in the chat, or if anybody feels comfortable sharing with their voice, how did that make you feel? Hi, Flora.
Share my experience. It really helped me relax, and at this point in time, I am in the lowest of that energy. So this really helped me a lot, and I made sure that I joined this session this morning. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Flora, and I'm glad we gave you a moment of respite. I'm seeing some
Hi,
folks.
Stephanie.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
It's as if I've met you or seen you before, but thank you. You're doing a phenomenal job. Also wanted to say that I'm also a HeartMath certified trainer. So
Yeah.
you're so right, the self-awareness, and it has become a way of life for me. So any opportunity there is to bring this awareness and this training, it's good to do so. So thank you for what you do. For me, it's always refreshing, regenerative, renewing. And briefly want to share my story. I'm 64 years old. I retired 2 years ago at 62 with 40 years in the federal government working with veterans. And as a HeartMath certified trainer, was instrumental in bringing HeartMath to the VA in a program we had called Whole Health, complementary program that integrated holistic practices, and it was very beneficial. So everything you're saying for the biofeedback, very beneficial for our veterans and for nurses, physicians, for all of us. But I must say, it has been through these type of holistic practices. HeartMath is one of them. At 64, I'll be completing my third year as a PhD student. I retired to return to school at my age, but I mean, this awareness and HeartMath has just been life-changing for me. So I just want to say that I had first of the year, I went for my annual physical, and my blood pressure, all those things are just working in alignment. So we have to understand that the only power there is in this universe is within us.
Yeah.
And through self-awareness, we have the capacity to choose the emotions and what space that we're going to be in. Sorry to be long-winded, but this is a topic that I'm passionate about too, and I know that it does work. I'm just grateful for that. And then it brought tears to my eyes when you talked about your grandmother and gratitude, how powerful that energy and the energy fields and intentions that lots of people benefit. I'm one of them who writes gratitude journals. So thank you so much. So happy for your presence and being able to connect this morning.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. And I'm so glad that you're here. And thank you for bringing HeartMath to the world as well. And thanks for also sharing that it's supported your journey. I love that. And feel free to chime in since you're a trainer too, chime in at any time.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, I'm just looking at the chat. So we've got relaxed, tranquil, more clarity. Perfect. That's great. So that was the goal. Now the beautiful thing with this type of breathing technique is when it becomes more familiar to you, and you use it daily, you can do this in 30 seconds and reset. So while I might have taken like a minute to do this with you guys, just to get the body and the brain and the heart used to kind of communicating with each other, the more that you practice these types of techniques, the more you'll understand in the moment that, you don't need to sit in a chair and zap out and put your hands, like you can just do it in the moment. So, all right. Why are my slides? Let's see. Okay, did my slide change?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the next thing that we're going to go through is the physiology of coherence and optimal functioning. So, that the importance with understanding what we're truly trying to achieve with all of this is coherence. And what coherence is, and this is the HeartMath's definition of it, is the optimal state in which the heart, the mind, and the emotions are aligned and in sync. Now, that's exactly why when I am teaching HeartMath, I'm telling people use your brain to tell it to do this. Go to the heart, tell it to do this. Bring in this emotion to tell it to do this, so that you have those cues for more coherence. Because if you don't have the backstory on why you are doing these certain things with modalities, then you it makes more sense to have the backstory for why we're doing this. Now, what we know as humans is that physiologically, when we are more coherent, the immune system, the hormonal system, the nervous system, they are functioning in a more energetic coordination. The reason why, I love showing this picture on this particular slide is it's a great visual for what coherence looks like. We could probably all put ourselves in that boat, right? And if we, as the rowers, were not in coherence with the person in front of us or behind us, what's going to happen to that boat? It could tip, it could go to the right, it could go to the left. It's not going to be coherent. It's not going to be energetically flowing together as one. So when you think of your body, that's why our goal is to make sure that the heart, the mind, and the emotions are in sync so that our boat can be going in one coherent line. Now, remembering that the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, excuse me, play a really big role in all of this. So, it's important to understand that the reason why we talk about the autonomic nervous system is that it regulates over 90% of our body's internal functions, including our breathing, our digestion, our heart rate, our immune system. Now, the ANS has two separate branches, which you see here, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is the one that truly acts as the body's gas pedal. So it speeds up all of the internal processes and mobilizing energy. The parasympathetic is the branch that acts like the brake pedal. So it slows down all of the internal processes. But both branches do connect to the heart. And why that's really important to remember is that because any change in activity in either branch affects the way that the heart beats on a beat-to-beat basis. So any emotion that we feel changes the activities in the branches of the ANS and has a major influence in the entire body system. Now, this is my favorite part. And this was a true aha moment when I went through training and in thinking more about the nervous system and the communication with the body. I don't know about you all, but growing up, the things that I constantly heard is, get your head in the game. Where's your head at? Everything was always focusing on my brain, quieting the brain. Maybe sometimes I heard follow your heart, but I would say I feel pretty true to say to you all that 80% of the conversations from people around me was always about where's your head? Use your head. And when I learned that the heart had its own nervous system called the heart brain, and understanding that the heart sends far more signals and information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, that for me was truly the aha moment. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense why I would want to slow this down and connect with this so that I have more clarity in this first. And what we've learned, again, from using these types of techniques is that, the heart truly is the place that affects the brain center with strategic thinking, reaction times, regulations. So if this is not steady and secure, then this isn't going to be either. So that's why we do this. That is truly at the essence, remembering that the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. When we speak about heart coherence, I know I gave the broad version of coherence with the body as one, but when we talk about heart coherence, what we're talking about is that by using breath, we are creating a more smooth and ordered heart rhythm, which balances the autonomic nervous system, and it enhances our communication between the heart and the brain. Now, again, I know I mentioned the technology earlier, but when you use the technology to look at what the what actual coherence looks like, you can see when you're in a more coherent state versus a coherent state. Actually, I'm going to show you a visual of that, but I want you to remember when we're talking about heart coherence, we're creating a smoother, ordered heart rhythm so that we are more balanced. From this visual, you can see what an incoherent brain function looks like versus if you are using some sort of technology to show what a coherent brain function looks like. Now, when I look at the left side of this and look at the incoherent, that automatically even makes my eyes feel chaotic and frazzled, right? Does anybody else feel that way from looking at that heart rate variability versus when you're in a more coherent state? Even just visually looking at that makes me feel like I'm more easeful. Everything is a little bit more, up and down versus being frazzled. So when we practice coherence, that's the goal. We want to generate a heart rate variability that is more coherent and not as frazzled. And the outcomes for coherence practice is that we have the ability, again, back to self-awareness, but we have more self-awareness. We have the ability to maintain our composure during challenging times. We reduce fatigue and exhaustion. We are able to find better clarity in conversations with each other, find better solutions. And we increase our access to that intuitive intelligence of what do I truly need in this moment? What does my body need? Do I need rest? All things that when we're in that more stressed state, we're not connected with that intuitive conversation that's going on in our brain of what we need to be more resilient. So what we're going to do next is a quick coherence technique. Now, the quick coherence technique is the tool that HeartMath uses kind of like as a training tool. So if your goal is to become more coherent, which again is that heart rate variability is more coherent, the ANS system is aligned, the heart, the brain, the hormonal system is aligned. This is the tool that you'll want to use to practice. Now, their studies have shown that if you practice this for like 3 to 5 minutes a day, over a course of a couple of weeks, you have the ability to truly change your heart rate variability. So just like going to a gym, think of this as more of like your mental gym exercise for the day. Now, each person is different. So some people like kind of tapping into this coherence technique in the morning while they're driving. Some people like to do this in bed before they settle down for the night. When I started my journey in HeartMath, I actually did this at nighttime. This was because that was the best time for me to actually be where my senses weren't as heightened. So you'll have to find what works for you, but just remembering that this is the technique that you'll want to practice for more coherence over time. Now, I want to remind you that every technique starts with heart focused breathing. So heart focused breathing is where you reset, you kind of get into that more restorative phase. This technique is going to help us build our coherence. Now, when you are working with your own personal coherence, it's important to remember the positive, renewing emotions and feelings that create coherence, because we're going to anchor these emotions into this experience. So just to give you all a verbal cue of what emotions and feelings that create coherence, it's feelings of courage or dignity, appreciation, confidence, care, love, compassion, enthusiasm, joy. My feeling is I have a 6-year-old black lab named Cole, and he's just the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, I love my husband. I know he can probably hear me, but Cole is he's just pure unconditional love. So when I anchor the emotional feeling that I have to looking at him, that's my visual cue of that anchor. So I just want to give you that that from my experience so that you know what to anchor in your head. So we will once again get into our space. And now that you've done the heart-focused breathing, if you're feeling like challenging yourself and you don't want to put your hands on the center of your chest, go for it. But just get into a more settled state. And you're going to use the brain to focus your attention in the area of the heart. And you're going to imagine that the breath is flowing in and out of the heart or your chest area. And you're breathing a little slower and deeper than you normally would. And this is where we bring in the coherence. You're going to make a sincere attempt in the brain to experience a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. Sometimes this can be a little hard to do. So just remember, if your brain gets frazzled and goes somewhere else, just go back to that heart-focused breathing, the air going in and out of the center of the chest, and then start again. Experiencing that regenerative feeling in the heart. You're breathing a little slower and deeper than you normally would. You've anchored that feeling of regenerative, such as appreciation or care, and the air is going directly in and out of the heart. When you're ready, you can slowly and softly allow your hands to drop on your lap or wherever you're comfortable. Wiggling the fingers, coming back to the present moment and opening up your eyes. So I'll invite you all again to let me know, how did that feel? Was there any difference? Was it hard? Did you feel that regenerative anchor in the heart along with the breath?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. I've been in Healing Touch for years, and I know that, when you try to get into a meditative state, that you bring in some kind of, whatever supportive ideas and thoughts you have, you bring those into your heart. But I never thought of them as you're presenting them here as restorative. It just never made that connection, lack of insight, I guess. And that they were actually produce these neurotransmitters that your whole body chemistry will help you get there just by bringing in these thoughts of gratitude and joy and connection and peace. It just I never connected there with that quite as clearly as I did today. So I thank you for doing that. It's kind of a light bulb went out, off in my brain. Yeah, and if thinking those kind of thoughts kind of slows down aging, I better start thinking those thoughts a whole lot real quick.
Well, you are doing great, Carol. But again, if Nan has taught any of us anything, it's that she's 102. While she might have fallen, she's doing great mentally. And that's because she's always thinking about, she's always using her brain to think about something positive.
She's still putting on lipstick. That's
Yep. Now we all have the skill of bringing it here, though.
Mm-hmm. So. It is hard. It's hard to keep the focus.
Yeah.
It takes practice to focus. I mean, it is a meditation in a way. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And meditating is difficult. You have to keep at it.
Yes, you do. You definitely do. And that's why when HeartMath shares this technique, we always try to tell people that we're teaching that it doesn't come overnight. Even the heart focused breathing can be, well, and I actually should have said this at the beginning. It can be triggering for some people to be thinking about the heart and going into the heart. So it really does, it takes practice. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. We've got two other HeartMath trainers here, Cheryl and Debbie.
Yay!
Yes.
Oh, I'm just looking at the chat. Hi, Debbie. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'm at the hospital with my dad, so.
That's okay. I hope he's okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So when we
I wanted to ask,
oh, go ahead.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second. So I took the training online, so I was like, and I took the test and passed and all that, but I don't have like a mentor. Is there someone to connect with as far as like sharing the slides and things like that?
I can help you.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can I add something, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Yes, once you become a HeartMath certified trainer, you connect with the HeartMath Institute, and almost weekly you're getting email correspondence for they always are having podcasts or some type of in-service education training. So it's just a matter also of connecting with the HeartMath Institute, and they have multiple resources. There are
Okay.
resources right in your community that you can reach out to. And one of the big things is every time I'm on this forum, you're always connected, Debbie, that there's a lot of connection through Caritas Healing Connection,
Yes.
and through Watson Caring Science, because they Caring Science and HeartMath, they work together in harmony together, what we call
Mhm.
Caritas HeartMath. So it's,
Oh, okay.
I became a trainer. I didn't do it online. I actually spent a week in Boulder Creek, California, at the HeartMath Institute.
Oh, wow.
So I had a different experience than what it would be online, but there are mechanisms and processes. Stephanie has agreed to, be a mentor, but every week I'm getting 2 or 3 emails a week from HeartMath. So just get connected with them, and they
Okay.
will take care of you. We take care of each other, actually.
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Cheryl. And you're very, very right about that. All right,
And
I know
thanks,
I'm
Steph.
coming up on time, so let me, the things that I would also like to impart on everybody is remembering our emotional energetics. So it's good practice when we are truly committed to our self-awareness of asking ourselves each day, what am I feeding the field?
Mm.
What am I bringing to this environment around me, and what are others bringing to me that I might need to let go of? So just remembering that our emotions and the way that we're feeling positively or negatively, whether we're aware of it or not, we are bringing it to a field. This is probably one of my most favorite slides to show, because again, when I went through the training, and same thing, Cheryl, I went to California as well. And, again, I went in with that mentality of like brain, 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 brain. And when they shared all of the studies that they were doing, again, around the communication between the heart and the brain, from healing touch and Reiki, I'm obviously very mindful and supportive of the fact that our body has a magnetic field. But what I guess I didn't know and I didn't think about is that the heart actually has its own magnetic field that comes about 3 feet outside of the body, versus the brain, which is actually only a couple of inches. So when we talk about what am I bringing to the field today, if your heart is frazzled or hurried or angry or frustrated, people that are within 3 feet of you are going to be feeling that, and it's going to directly, change the way that their heart rate variability is. And I think we can all agree that we've experienced that, right? Like you've been in a situation or around another human being, whether you're walking into a meeting or at the grocery store, that you can either feel like, oh, she's in a bad mood, right? And you'll say that in your head. And I think that as humans, we've gotten away from understanding that there's true science behind us being in each other's fields. So I would really urge you, as you start to bring this into your life, remembering that your heart is directly affecting people around you. 3 feet. 3 feet, your electromagnetic field. And that's science. This is not woo-woo. This is studied. They have instruments at the hospitals that are, that measure the magnetic field of the body. So we just have to be really mindful of that, which is why when we're thinking about taking care of ourselves, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our hearts. Now, there are many different breathing techniques, and Carol, I can send you, because some of these slides I've made myself. So I'm more than happy to send you my own slides so you can share with the group, because there are different breathing techniques that you would want to use in different situations. Today, we covered two of the most important. So heart-focused breathing, you'll want to use anytime you feel overwhelmed and you need to reset, and you just do it for 30 seconds and you will have a positive impact on your own heart and your own field. We worked on the quick coherence, which is the tool that you would use to really work on creating a more coherent conversation between the autonomic nervous system, the brain, the heart. So that's the one that you want to practice on so that you have better heart rate variability throughout the day. We did do the heart lock-in, which is a great tool to use at the start of a day before you're going into a group. The cool thing with that is nobody knows that you're even doing it, but you're changing the electromagnetic field. And if you feel like sharing it with others, you can use the heart lock-in at the start of a meeting just to get everybody in a more heart-centered state. I would also encourage everybody to pass it on now that if this is new to you and you're learning these tools, know that you can use these with your loved ones, your children, your patients. Really anybody will benefit from learning this. Now, what I did do, and I know I won't have enough time, is that I did create slides for each area on when and how to use it. So like I said, I can share that with Carol so that she can share that with everybody. So let me just
I've put my email in the chat. So if you want the slides, take a picture of that, the chat, and you'll just send me an email and I'll send them to you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as we think about our own personal journeys on this, remembering that for our own benefit, we want to be self-aware of prepping to set the tone for our day, so that we're more composed, we're more heart coherent, we're feeding the field the more positive emotional states. We need to be mindful about our own personal battery. So we need to shift and reset to a more coherent state as soon as possible after we recognize we might be in a more depleted state, so that we minimize those energy drains. And we want to sustain our resilience throughout the day. So you'll want to use those purposeful breathing techniques throughout the day to make sure that you're sustaining your resilience. And then lastly, just remembering that this truly is the most powerful thing we have. The other remembrance of the heart is that no beat is the same. So my heartbeat is different. Carol, you have your own heartbeat. Betsy, you have your own heartbeat. Flora, Cheryl, Debbie, I can't see the other names, but you all have your own heartbeat, just like we have our own fingerprints. So take care of this. Take care of this so that you can truly live the life that you are meant to have. And then this will help others in the field around you. So thank you all so much for your time today and letting me be a part of your journey.
Well, this was just so meaningful. It was a very meaningful presentation that I think we can all use in our lives and in the lives of those that we care about, whoever will listen, to tell you the truth. So I thank you for that. It's a gift, and it was very impactful. Appreciate your time and your passion that you shared with us.
Thank you, Carol. And thank you for all that you all do in this world. So make sure you give yourself some love.
And I do want to wish you each a happy new year, in 2025 that you